Hey, my sisters. Did you miss me? Do I look like crap? I know I do, but that's okay because I'm trying to finish up this episode that I promised you on March 1st. Renee Brooks is with me in this relaunch of ADHD is the New Black, and she's going to talk about what exactly an ADHD coach does. She should know because she is one, and whether you might need one or not. I know I do. Enjoy. Renee, thank you for joining me on the relaunch of ADHD is the New Black. You are my first guest for the relaunch.
I'm so excited to see what you're going to do with the channel. You always bring such good energy, Stace.
Thank you. I appreciate that. You were the last guest that aired on ADHD is the New Black.
I was.
Yes. So what way to relaunch than to start with the person that I ended with last year.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, and just to recap for anybody who didn't see any of the previous videos, I lost my mother in November on Thanksgiving Day, actually. And she had been in rapidly declining health over the course of 2021. And so actually the last video that I produced for ADHD is the New Black was with Renee when we were talking about the ADHD caregiver, which I had come into that position for a brief period of time last spring when my mother's health was declining with dementia. So I just want to take a moment and thank you for helping me through some really hard times with putting everything into perspective. But that's what ADHD coaches do, don't they?
It is. And, you know, that's the thing that I like. Okay, so like, don't stone me, anybody who's listening to this, because people hate it when I say there's anything that I like about ADHD, but bear with me. I think the thing that I like about us as a community is how quick, like, if you're in trouble and you scream help, I feel like 15 people will come running, and they'll come running with tips. They'll come running with stories and words of encouragement and affirmation that, like, probably a little overwhelming if we're being honest, but it's sure better than screaming for help and getting nothing. Like, really, this is what it's about. This is what I was hoping for when I started looking for more neurodivergent spaces.
Where there's definitely a specific camaraderie amongst us because I think we all get each other on a very deep level as far as the challenges we have with being neurodiverse individuals with ADHD. So, or neurodivergent, I think is the word. Let's just stop with all the right words and stuff. Girl, let's just talk, okay? First and foremost, Renee, not only have you been my mentor on this journey, I have restarted being an advocate and content creator, but you're also my friend. And thank you for being a friend. But you are also an ADHD coach, and I just want to make sure that I shout out to my official ADHD coach, who is also a friend of yours, Inger Colsey, because
we love Inger.
Yes. In addition to her being the coach that I pay for services, and she talks me off ledges like she did last night over some stuff that I can talk about in another episode. She's also a friend. And so the two of you, I feel like I got just 2 for 1 with having 2 friends who are also ADHD coaches. So what I do want to talk to you about today is, first of all, what the heck is an ADHD coach? Because that was my question when I first started treating my ADHD. It's like, that's a thing? ADHD coach? Don't they make you do like burpees and stuff? Like, and like watch squirrels while we exercise? What is that?
And 2, I'm the Jane Fonda of ADHD.
You are. Oh my God, you're the Tybo of ADHD. You're the Billy Blanks of ADHD.
Bring me my headband, bring me my sweatband, and let's get to work.
Yes. Tell me about your journey with ADHD and how did you become a coach? And then tell us all, what exactly does an ADHD coach do?
Okay, so I was diagnosed with ADHD. Like, everybody knows I've been diagnosed more than once. Let's start with the one that matters, the one at 25. Where I was able to get diagnosed and I got my meds and I went back to the job that I almost lost before I got diagnosed. And I went back and like aced it for 90 days and got a better job offer. And they were like, will you please stay? And I was like, nope, because you're not going to pay me more. It was very gratifying. I got fired from the next job. Another story. So
I got 17 of those stories, but okay, go ahead.
So I did that, got myself straightened out career-wise or whatever. And I thought, okay, like now I'm back on my meds and I've got my antidepressants and we're clipping along and it's good. And I started to notice it's like when you first get diagnosed and you start learning and you're improving, so you don't notice necessarily until you kind of plateau that like this is better, but it's not better enough. Like there's still a lot of things that I want to do better that I still kind of feel like there's got to be more than this, right? Like,
yeah.
So I did some digging around. I want to say that I met my coach before I met my blog. I will have to go back and ask my ADHD coach because surprise, surprise, I can't remember which came first, the blog or the coach. And I want to say it was the coach first. We get into the session and she starts teaching me about the different ways that my brain works. And like, we're going through the steps of my life and we're like picking them apart and figuring out how to make them work. Like you're having difficulty being on time and getting to sleep and eating enough and managing. And it took me from diagnosis to meds and education, I would say I felt about 65% better. ADHD coaching probably took me up to 90. I fell in love with ADHD coaching. ADHD coaching probably took me up to 90.
Why do you think that is?
This is where it's kind of twofold to me. Like if you're going to do meds at all, meds and coaching are great because the meds will give you like the boost that you need to do the things that the coach asks you to do. You know what I mean? Because like you need executive function to change things. So it just kind of works nicely together. So coaching is basically that. Like you're navigating your own diagnosis and where it fits in your life and what you need to accomplish versus what you've got. And your coach is kind of like your guide. So like they're the first mate to your captain. I think the thing that we lose a lot in the dialogue about ADHD, you know, when they talk about chasing the high, we're chasing the tip. Like we think we're one tip away from like having it all together. Like we're going to get it. Like, I don't know where it's at, but I'm going to find the tip that's going to turn me into Martha Stewart and I'm going to have a perfect house and I'm going to be brilliant at my job and do all the wonderful things. There is no magic tip.
Right.
It's all experimentation.
It is. And then even if you do find, I mean, I can't speak for you, but even for myself, when I do find that one tip that like, oh man, this just made my week so much easier.
Stops working, doesn't it?
Yes. Maybe it might be the next week. It might be the next month, but eventually, now I got to go back and rebuild this house because we just have to like keep changing it up because I guess our brains just outsmart us. Our brains, I guess, are like, I know what you're doing.
Sure. Like when we start, like, and that's the thing, right? Like coaching teaches you how to work with your brain. So take that example, right? I know that even if I find the perfect tip, I'm going to have to rebuild the house.
Yeah.
You have the plans to build the house already. You know what? You've got this plan. This plan doesn't work anymore. You have the previous plans that you used too. Your routines, your habits, your tricks, they get stale. Yeah. And when our brain says, boring, I don't like it anymore.
Yeah, it needs something new and shiny. That doesn't mean you can't
go back to something old. You ever pick something up and go, wow, this works so well. I can't believe I ever stopped doing this. This is great. I'm going to turn my whole life around with this.
Yeah.
That's why. Because it's fresh again. It's new again. So, like,
our brains need that constant new to get the dopamine going.
You need new. And sometimes something new is something old.
Yes.
It's new to you.
Yeah,
It's like thrift shopping, but with routines.
I don't like thrift shopping though.
Oh my gosh.
I don't have the temperament. Listen, I'm not that girl. I'll walk into a thrift store, a wooden nickel, Salvation Army, whatever, and I get overwhelmed immediately. Immediately. It's
It's too many
because
choices.
there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like because you know how most of, like, especially the Salvation Army or the Goodwill, they organize everything according to the colors, you know? So it's like, unless I know I need something red, that doesn't help me.
How
You
am I
know,
supposed to know what I want? Listen, you have described my entire family dynamic. My mom is a champion thrift shopper, and I like it, but I'm like, I'm not going to look around unless I have a specific need, because I
yeah.
like just
If I walk into a department store and I don't know exactly what I'm looking for, if that is not assembled on a mannequin and I can see how one piece goes with the other piece, I don't even know what to do with clothes. I'll walk in and go, I don't even know what that goes with. And if I look at the mannequin, oh, okay, that's a cute outfit. Where do I find that? I'm not a girl who likes too many choices. Like, I like one thing or two things. You know, if you give me 100 things, I'm going to be there all day.
and that's the thing. Like this right here, you've coached your way through shopping
Yes,
and making it work better for you. Like if you had a problem with shopping, that's what you would do. Like,
but see, intuitively, I already knew that from a long time ago. I didn't know it
I
had
feel
a
like
name.
most people, and that's another thing that makes coaching powerful, because a lot of it, as you know, like when you're in a coaching session, nobody gives you the answers, right? It's just kind of like,
Yeah.
it's like guided introspection. Like there's so many, it's such a hard, like once you went through it a couple of times, you were like, oh, this makes sense. It's very difficult to quantify exactly what it is, isn't it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it is. It is. But then once you do, you're so happy that it has a label or a name or something that you can like call it something.
Yes, because it's like it's part workshop, part guided introspection, part education, because sometimes your coach will stop you and be like, look, wait.
Yeah.
That right there, that thing that you're doing, that's leading you in the direction you said you didn't want to go in.
Okay, so you came into coaching because you felt like you were able to put all the pieces together. You were able to get up to, like, you know, fully functioning person.
I said 90%. I mean, really 80.
Okay, okay. Is it what is it about coaching other than having the knowledge and a better understanding of ADHD, you know, workarounds and why our brains work the way they do? Is there something about helping other people as well that is fulfilling for you as well?
Yeah. I come from a family of helpers. So there's like athlete type coaches and pastors and all that. Like, I feel like I was like serving people is in my DNA. So that was like the whole purpose of going through coaching, like beyond, like I'm not like Mother Teresa or anything. I definitely wanted my own life to improve,
Yeah.
but anything that I get improvement wise, I like to use to help somebody else get what they need too.
Yes.
So going through coaching, those early blog posts, I can look back now and see, oh, that's something Carolyn had to help me stop doing. Like, I can't believe I even thought like that. Like, girl, why did you think that was going to work? That is silly. Like, oh my gosh. And I like being able to do that with other people. And it's like, it really is with them. Like when people are like, you straightened me out. No, really, you straightened yourself out. I just kind of like reminded you of what you said you wanted and called you out when you were headed somewhere that wasn't going to get you what you said you wanted, and helped you adjust if you realize, like, I think that's the part that we often miss in goal setting. The goal can change. The goal is ours. We set the goal. We are allowed to change the goal. Like, what if you get there and you find that you don't feel equipped to do it? Or you just don't like it anymore. You know how many lawyers have passed the bar and decided they don't like law?
Yeah.
It's okay to change your mind. And I think especially as an ADHD person, we are so filled with shame for not meeting a goal that sitting a goal down and saying this doesn't serve me is almost a foreign concept to us. We're just like, I set the goal and I have to prove that I can finish what I started. You don't have to prove anything to anyone. If that goal doesn't serve you and your needs anymore, you can sit it down. And so a coach can say to you, hey, we keep going in the direction that's opposite of the goal that you set. Or maybe the goal doesn't seem that, like, do you think that the goal still fits? Mm-hmm. And you can look at that not from the perspective of the goal controlling you, but you controlling the goal. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So it really teaches you, on top of the like, this is how we build confidence in our choices again, which is something that I also think is lacking when you're coming into adulthood without a diagnosis. You just feel incompetent all the time. And so the empowerment that it takes, that you feel when someone for the first time goes, you don't want to do that anymore? Don't do it.
Right.
It's like, it's almost shocking. It almost feels like an overwhelming gift or it did to me, like, where I was like, what do you mean I can sit the goal down if I don't want to do it anymore? Right. Like, everything isn't to be pursued to completion or frustration and eventually quitting and carrying the failure of that with me for the rest of my life. You mean I don't have to do that?
Yeah.
You don't.
Because I think our lives are so full of shoulds. And I know everybody hears, oh, you should be doing that, or you should be doing this, especially from our parents. But I think when you have ADHD, again, I can only speak for myself, those should sound like, they sound judgy. Like, you should be doing that because what you're doing doesn't make sense. A should sounds like something a neurotypical person says to a person, you should be doing it the way I do it.
And that's everything. There is like that, and that's how that kind of infantilization, and there's another word, but my brain's not going to give it to me, but like, we go through our entire lives being told the way that occurs to us naturally is incorrect.
Yeah.
And it creates, so like, we're talking about self-esteem, self-doubt. And obviously that's not everyone's ADHD experience, but I feel like you and I, Stace, had a very similar ADHD experience in the sense that the idea of me having the right answer about much of anything was not one that occurred to me. It's like, if it seems right to me, it's probably all about to crash and burn. Maybe I should go ask someone else what to do. And so you're constantly walking around like Oliver with your bowl, like, please, sir, can you tell me what the right thing to do is? And other people don't know what's right for you. They don't live your life. They don't have to deal with your choices. Sometimes we're not even telling them the whole story.
Yeah.
So learning, I feel like coaching helped me learn that what I said, it was okay for what I said to go. And now I'm a little bit of a tyrant with it. Someone will be like, don't you think you should try? And I'll be like, no, my way.
So coaching helped you learn to trust yourself more, to trust your decisions and your judgment. Yeah,
absolutely.
That's really hard for ADHD people because we get so much negative feedback about our choices or the things that we do or the way we act. It's like so many of us live our lives for so long, especially women. If you go into your middle-aged undiagnosed, you start to feel like just your whole way of existing in the world is just off or wrong, because we
feel like the beast, right? Like, let me just cut off in my tower somewhere and hope that, like, don't look at me, like, whatever it is, it's just, you feel like a bad luck omen or something. I don't know, like, don't talk to me or it'll spread to you too.
Right.
It makes it hard to form relationships, right? You're just like, I'm sorry, did everything in your house suddenly break? That was probably me.
Yes. Oh my God.
I'm sorry.
You want to hear a weird story? Okay. Before I moved here from New York City, I went to see a friend in a play, an off-Broadway play. And he was more than just a friend to me. He was like my personal Fonzie. Like, I had the biggest crush on this guy.
Oh
He
my
was
God.
completely unavailable, as are most men that I have been interested in. But I had the biggest
Yes,
crush on him.
team Unavailable.
Yes.
You have issues. I love you. Let's get married.
Yeah, well, he was already married, but I'm like, oh, they're probably unhappy. But anyway, it took me a while to figure out that he was. But long story short, which it never is when I say that, by the way, he was a rising star in the Broadway world. And so I was his biggest cheerleader. I'm like, I'm starting a fan club for this guy. You know, like he was so nice and so sweet to me all the time, and was always like interested in, like, you know, reading stuff that I'd written and everything. And so I went to see this off-Broadway play he was in, and I got there just after curtain, right? Just after curtain. So the venue was already dark, and I'm creeping, you know, into my seat, stepping across people. Excuse me, sorry, excuse me. You know, and he's already on stage, you know, in character performing and stuff. Renee, about 3 seconds after I sat down, one of his props just crashed to the floor, crashed. And I was like, oh my God, I caused that.
It was me.
Oh,
You was saying, I'm sorry.
I know.
It was me.
Knowing in my head, he can't even see me. He can't see anybody in this audience. And
Did you apologize to him afterwards?
No, I was embarrassed. I don't even think I talked to him afterwards. I just like crept away, like, oh my God, I ruined his performance tonight. You know, and I had this like idea that he was like looking right at me from stage as he was performing, like, you made me knock over this huge prop.
How could you? That's how it feels like that all the time. And you know what? When people talk about like being self-centered, I think that's a perspective on being self-centered that we don't talk about. Like, because we think about self-centered as ego, and sometimes it's self-centeredness in the sense of like you are always concentrating on yourself to make sure that you don't make a mistake. Or like, it's the reason why I have a mirror off camera to make sure my face doesn't do anything weird. Has my face done anything weird? Probably not. But in my mind, if I don't check in.
Renee, I wouldn't notice because I was too busy looking at my face to see that I wouldn't make any faces that were too weird. So, okay, let's get back on track.
But that's it. Like, I feel like coaching helped to pull me out of that constant. I mean, like, I still go back there sometimes because, you know, like, it's ingrained in you from childhood, I guess. I don't know. But it's a habit that, and then it's like when you realize you're doing it, at first you're like almost like beating yourself up over beating yourself up, which is super counterproductive. By the way, don't do that. And so now, like, I've learned how. I know, right? It's
already bought that real estate.
Honey, you got a neighbor. So, in fact, there's a whole neighborhood. Like, it's a whole big ass development of us just living there, swinging on ourselves.
If I am someone who's just been diagnosed or have decided that I want to seek treatment for my ADHD, what should I be looking for in a coach, and what should I expect?
You know what? I want my coach, when I'm looking for a coach, to be someone who I find intensely relatable, because I'm going to be telling them the intimate, goofy details of the way that I think and the way that I do things. So it needs to be somebody who I can trust. So you want to look for a rapport, and you want to look for, like, I think most coaches create some kind of content, like see if you can catch the thread of their philosophy on how to do things. Like Anger, for instance, huge on strengths-based coaching. A lot of us are, but she's really, really, really good at it. Yeah. And like, she doesn't take no shit from you as far as talking shit about yourself. She'll be like, why? Why is it a problem when you do that? Why do you think you make weird faces? Who told you you make weird faces? She doesn't say it like that, folks, but I'm paraphrasing. So I think a rapport, someone who you can relate to. You want someone whose philosophy is parallel to yours. So you're heading in the same direction together. It just has to be someone who says things that make sense to you, and in a way that makes sense to you, because these are big abstract concepts that we're talking about.
They are.
And you want someone who can make sense to you. Those are qualities I would suggest finding in anyone who's going to help you manage anything. Like if you're looking for a good therapist, those qualities are something I would recommend you look for in a therapist, along with checking their credentials. And with coaching, some people check credentials, some people don't. Some people are certified, some people are not. I have met coaches who were certified who were not great, and I've met coaches who were not certified who are phenomenal coaches.
What is the difference between a coach and a therapist?
A therapist is there and able to provide you with treatment for a condition that you have, like anxiety, depression, ADHD. Mm-hmm. I can't give you a treatment plan. I am not a qualified mental health professional. Now, there are people like Inger, for instance, is both, and she do both.
She's a twofer.
She is a twofer. I'm just saying.
I have two therapists. I have Inger and my regular therapist.
Likewise, like Inger is my unofficial therapist. I'd be like, Inger, what the hell am I supposed to do with this?
But I will say she does draw the line at therapying me and being my coach, because she doesn't want to contradict anything that I might be getting from my actual therapist, because she doesn't know. Yeah. Yes. She doesn't know what I'm talking to my therapist about unless I tell her. So
of course.
And sometimes I do, but yeah, we keep it strictly to the coaching part and not digging too deeply in my head, because my therapist is all up in there.
Coaching's helping you build strategies for yourself. It's helping you to build accountability. It's a space for you to experiment with new skills that you're acquiring in those areas. So it's a great adjunct to therapy. It's not a substitute. It's not in any way therapy and should not be used as therapy. Disclaimer. You're just trying to you're trying to build a new skill. Like if you've been late. You're just trying to you're trying to build a new skill. Like if you've been late your whole life, you don't know the mechanics of being on time. I mean, you have a general idea. You know what I mean? Like, it's just like if you were trying to lose weight, like, you know, theoretically what the mechanics are of losing weight. What you don't know is how to make those work for yourself consistently and what that looks like for you. Exactly that.
You know what to do. We just don't do it or know how to do it, which kind of is the ADHD condition.
Kind of like, I mean, I'm here and I need to get here.
Yeah.
I don't know the way.
Can we play? Can we do some role playing?
Stacey, I didn't know it was this kind of show.
Okay. Let's pretend, if you're okay with this, let's pretend I'm a first time coaching client of yours. What would from Renee Brooks, what would a first time coaching session look like?
Ooh, well, first we would start talking about what is currently frustrating you. What's on fire? What's the thing that's making you go, if I could just stop doing that? The other thing that I like to ask people when they're first coming in is, what is the end result that you envisioned when you came to coaching? Like, what does your life look like when it's managed well?
And what if I said, I have no clue because it's never managed well?
It's never, and that's what I'm saying. Like, what do you want it to look like? What in your imaginary, like, we all have this vision of who I am when I have my shit together. When I finally get my shit together,
Yeah.
this is who I'm going to be. Who is that person? Tell me about it.
You know, that's very interesting. I know we're just role playing.
I want to know about her. Look, you don't.
Oh, you want to know?
Role play. We're going full hog on this role play. Who is Stacey when she has her shit together? Tell me about her.
Okay, she's the person that I was pretending to be in my 20s and 30s.
Okay.
She was the person I was trying to project to other people because I wanted them to think I had my shit together. When in reality, I was falling apart completely. You know, like in my mind, and still to this day, the woman that has her shit together is like my Aunt Dorothy. Like I've always wanted to be her because, like, from my perspective, she has like done it all right. She has operated on an extremely high level her whole life. She's gotten everything that she wanted, that she wanted to work hard for. She's got, like she's broken through a lot of glass ceilings over her life. She was the first Black woman to do this and that, in the corporate world. So yeah, her life is what I envisioned my life would look like,
So Stacey is kicking ass.
Stacey's kicking ass. And to the outside world, I will tell you this, to the outside world in my first profession, Stacey was kicking ass. I was masking as that person. And although some of those elements were me, obviously, my coping mechanisms that I had learned up to that point just stopped working. And so it was like, there was a huge disconnect between who I thought I was in my head and how I was actually performing on a day-to-day life.
So how much of that?
That's funny. My dog just walked by me and your dog barked.
He's like, hey, other dog friend on the other side of the country. What are you doing over there? How much of that version of Stacey is who you think Stacey ought to be?
Oh, 100% of that person I was masking as, that's who I thought I was supposed to be for a very long time. I mean,
who do you actually want to be, Stace?
Well, we're just pretending right now, right? I mean, I'm giving you some real answers, but I've been.
Stacey was like, wait a minute, it just got real. Wait, stop.
I know, right? I'm like, wait, I'm in therapy. I have a coach. I've worked through a lot of these issues.
Don't ask me that on camera. How dare you come to, this is my show.
Why you expose me like that? Okay.
But I'll tell you, like, okay, you know what? But I'll expose.
What was the question again? I'll answer it. What was the question again?
Expose me. So as a young wife and a stepmother, I thought the person that I was supposed to be was my grandmother. Child, I still don't know how my grandmother did all the things she did. She worked full time. She ran a business. She had me and my brother with her every single moment of the day that she wasn't working. I ran errands with her. She was the accountant. She was the purchaser for the bar. Like she cleaned. She was the janitorial staff. Like she did everything.
Yeah.
And kept a perfect house. And had dinner on the table.
Yeah.
And was always impeccably dressed. So
that was my aunt. Yep.
That was who I was supposed to be. I thought, child, I almost killed myself trying to be her. I mean, not in the like mental health anguish, suicidal sense, in the like almost worked myself into it. Like I would have to stay up 24 hours a day to do that. So I had to ask myself, which pieces of this, what pieces of this are really important to you as far as what your value system is? What do you actually want here?
Yeah.
And I just wanted to feel like a good wife. I wanted to feel like I wanted to feel like my family was safe and that things were handled.
Yeah.
Because that was the feeling that I always had. And
I understand the question now. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, okay, I can answer that now because I don't think I was really sure what you were talking about.
Look, you're like, I'm not answering that. No further questions. This is not what my agent said you were going to ask me.
Right? I thought 100% I was supposed to be my aunt, who practically raised me as well, by the way. So she's like as much like a mother to me as my grandmother who raised me, because she was in the house with us until I was like 5 or 6. And so I thought that was who else. She even dressed me, like even as a grown up.
Oh my God.
She would buy me the business suits I needed to wear to look sharp on camera. She just like, she was making me her mini me, and it was all well intentioned because I told her this is what I want, and so she's like, you gotta look the part. So like I was trying to be, that's who I thought I was going to be.
Yes.
And then as I've come to understand myself more, I realized that the parts of her that I really wanted was the self-efficacy.
Yes.
You know, the absolute ability to take care of myself, to have a nice home, or as many homes as I wanted, just like she had. And she didn't get married until later in life, and she didn't have a child until later in life. And it was like all the pieces fell into place, and she made it look so easy. And I'm not saying it was, because I'm sure it wasn't.
Easy. They make
yes.
it look, and I'm just like, didn't she get tired? When did she sleep? I know she slept because I saw her do it.
Yeah.
When did they like they're like wizards?
Yes. Yes.
And you know what? It's so funny, Stace, because while all that stuff that was happening to me last year was happening, in the midst of it, you know, I'm running around, I'm making decisions. I'm going, you do this, you do this, you do this, you go stand here, you sit here, I'll be over here doing this. And my mom looks at me and goes, you really are your grandmother's child. And I think she was a little annoyed with me because I was being bossy, but I was like, I am.
That's
Thank
so
you for
funny.
saying that. I needed that. I needed to hear that. Like, because to me, when there's a crisis, when there's someone that needs to be handled, when there are practical things that need to get reliable.
Yeah.
And I always felt unreliable. In fact, you look, now I'm drilling down further than I intended to drill down. Reliable is what I wanted to be. I wanted to be the kind of person that people could trust. Yes. Like, and she's a steady foundation. You can depend on her. She's dependable. I wanted to be dependable. I never felt responsible or dependable. I always felt like if people were going to ask me for something, it was as good as them being let down already. Like, I would literally envision them being disappointed as I would say yes to whatever. Really envision them being disappointed as I would say yes to whatever it was.
Wow. Do you still feel that way?
No. Like, I'm incredibly reliable now. Thank God. Because that's what I wanted. Like, that's what's important to me, because people are my thing, right? Like, everybody has their thing. I love people. I love helping them. And part of doing that is having some steadiness and a little bit of reliability. I mean, you can do it without it, but for me, for my definition of the way I want it to be, you need that.
Hi, this is Stacey Michelle, the creator and host of ADHD is the New Black. If you want to support this channel and the purpose for which it was created, then please consider supporting us on Patreon.